All right, so yeah, San Diego Comic-Con passed this weekend, and there's a lot of great things. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. So I'm thinking, okay, let's start with something simple. So let's talk a little bit about Marvel Legends because there's one figure that I really want to talk about, which I honestly, the fact that this exists just like blows my mind, and I'm not even joking. And before I move on, I know what you're probably saying, Josh. I thought you don't talk about Marvel Legends stuff no more, right? And that's kind of half true because I've mentioned it in the past that because of how with the debate over a lot of the strange decisions that Hasbro has made over about a year or so regarding the figures and the price hikes and all that, and that's stuff that I was interested in talking about in the past, but then I try to kind of step away from that a little bit because it honestly just turned into pretty much something else. But honestly, the reason why I'm talking about Marvel Legends news yet again is because, for starters, this figure in particular is incredible, and I want to talk about it. And second of all, I got a kind of a weird comment I posted on my community tab, which I guess you could say really riled up my Jimmys. I guess that's a sort of way of saying it. I don't know. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm gonna double down. Today we're gonna be talking about Detroit Steel, which is basically Ironmonger, but like patriotic. Which I know, right? That's like the most weirdest thing. Now, without a doubt, I'm just gonna say it right now. When it comes to Marvel Legends characters and all that, obviously they tend to make figures on pretty much the most randomest characters you could think of. And definitely years and years ago, I remember that was one of the reasons why I couldn't really bring myself to buy these figures, no matter how nice looking they were, especially during the waves, and of course the whole build a figure situation and all that too, where you don't have to collect every single figure that comes out in a wave, but at the same time, uh, you got some pretty good characters, but there's always like a extra arm and a leg that you're gonna have laying around, and then it's like, okay, I'm never gonna complete this set, all right, you know. But then there's, like as time kind of goes on, and it's like you kind of explore more of like the Marvel universe and all that too, and you discover a lot of these pretty interesting characters. And definitely, for sure, Detroit Steel is one of them because I am dying to know like who the heck is this? Because the fact that Hasbro thought it was a good idea to make this figure is so weird considering that, it's pretty obvious that it's like a retooled or like a slightly remolded version of Ironmonger, specifically the one from the MCU, the one from Iron Man, the very first film that pretty much sort of started off the whole MCU train. And I say sort of because obviously that was way before that was even established. Because remember, people didn't actually knew how much of a big hit Iron Man was when it first came out, so you also had to take that into consideration. Also, I guess just to kind of get a good idea as to the figure in question, right? So I do have the MCU Ironmonger figure. I have him kind of posed up, shooting like his little mini gun. It's a great figure for sure. It comes in a 2-pack. It comes with him and the human version of him, I guess. Let me see. Did I put him over here? Yeah. So it came in a 2-pack pretty much. So that's it's the same person, obviously, but he has kind of a funny name, which I forget. I guess it doesn't matter because he died anyway. That's par for the course for MCU films, where sometimes the bad guys kind of die and then they kind of get away with it. Not everybody, obviously. I mean, Boron Zemo, he didn't die in his first appearance. Namor, he didn't die in his first appearance either. You get the point. But what I want to talk a little bit about is like kind of comparing the figure and sort of comparing like how we've seen it, because it's like I said, it's pretty much the exact same figure but just slightly different. But it's hilarious though because like you look at it, and I'm just gonna say it right now. That's like that figure just screams like America, fuck yeah, you kind of get that sort of vibe when you see it, and you'll know exactly what I mean when I show you on my computer. But the reason why I want to talk about Ironmonger a little bit, it's because a lot of the sculpting and all that, when you look at sort of some of the details, they do look pretty accurate. Although it's pretty obvious that they do change a couple of things in the Detroit Steel. But obviously because it has the red and the the whites everywhere, and then of course it's patriotic, like I said, you'll finally get to kind of see also a lot of those nice little details, like some of the wires and all that. What I definitely love the most is the exaggeration of the character itself. It's so bizarre because he has a minigun, but it is ginormous now. It is huge, and I don't know why, but I've always been fascinated with giant miniguns for some reason. Because when I was young, my dad used to play Resident Evil 5, and I remember one of the kind of sort of mini bosses. He was like a big enemy type. It was the minigun Majini. If you're for any Resident Evil fans, you probably know what I'm talking about. But for everybody else that are not into video games, you probably have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But all I can say is it's a heavy duty weapon, for sure. I guess another good comparison would be like an Uncharted 2, where they had like the weird minigun guys too. Although theirs wasn't like exaggeratingly huge, for the most part. Or even if you've never played Resident Evil 5, but you've played 4, but not the remake, but the original, because there was an enemy called JJ, and he had a minigun, and his was pretty exaggerated for the most part, just to kind of get an idea. But it is like huge, which is great. And then on the other arm, he has a freaking chainsaw, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because I've known, at least a good portion of these characters. Obviously, I wouldn't buy the figures if I didn't know who they were. But there's just something about Detroit Steel. I'm like, I want to know more. And that's one of the many fascinating things about Marvel Legends that people tend to don't really look at because they just love to look at it as, oh, this is an unknown character. I don't know who this is. And it's like, I really don't want to turn this into a rant. But one thing I've also noticed whenever you look at this toy line is that even if you have characters that you don't necessarily know, kind of opens up a little bit of that kind of that their world per se. It's like it makes you invested into the characters and want to know who they are. For an example, I had no idea who X-Man was until I found out that he was kind of part of the Age of Apocalypse storyline, and he even had his own comic book where he fights against what you call it, Holocaust. Yeah, because as we all know, because of his name, they changed it to Nemesis to a certain degree. They even made a Build-A-Figure wave where he's called Nemesis, even though his real name is supposed to be Holocaust. But because the name Holocaust, it's kind of a controversial sort of thing to say. But I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I know it bothers most people for reasons that I'm not gonna get into because then that's a whole nother conversation. But you guys get the point, right? So what I'm trying to say is that even if you don't know who the characters are, it's like they kind of make you invested to kind of want to know more about their story. So I think Detroit Steel is definitely a huge example of it. And I keep talking about him for such a long time, and I should just go right ahead and show you him. But the only problem though is that when I make these videos, I'm filming this on my phone, so for some odd reason everything is flipped. So even though he has the chainsaw like on his left arm, you guys are gonna see like on his right arm or so. You'll get the point. You'll know exactly what I mean. You've also probably seen it on the thumbnail too of the video, but just to kind of give you an idea, I'll still show it to you anyway. Only because knowing how YouTube is, sometimes the thumbnail for some odd reason doesn't really pop up. So I kind of had to sort of keep an eye on that. I've had that to me happen a couple times. So let me just look up our buddy right here. And one last thing I actually would like to mention is because it's mostly a reuse like parts for Ironmonger. Of course, it kind of comes into question as to how much of the extent of the type of stuff is being reused, and I'm gonna explain why in a bit. So here is, I should probably lower the volume, the brightness. I do apologize if I'm messing up my words a little bit. I've been working a lot lately, so I'm a little bit tired. So I do apologize for that. So let me show you how he kind of looks, just to give you an idea. So this is Detroit Steel. So that's their newest figure that was revealed at San Diego Comic-Con during this week. Let me lower the brightness down just a little bit more so you could kind of see how he looks. Just to kind of give you an idea. And it looks cool. So I know you can't really see it that well, but you can see right here, he got the gap. And in the other arm, he has the giant chainsaw, which is really cool. But like I said, you can tell that he has like a lot of parts added. In fact, it kind of seems a little bit like it's just Ironmonger, but they like straight up just add stuff to it, which is obviously not 100% true. You know, he has a new head sculpt, and for the most part, now that I'm kind of looking at the two as a comparison, there's definitely quite a couple differences. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still reuse here that I'm looking at, but you kind of get the point. I wish I had like pictures side by side, but I mean, doing this live, I mean, it's alright too, right? You guys don't really mind. I also like the box too. He comes in like this really huge, ginormous box. I can only imagine how much he's gonna cost when he comes out. It's like a 9-inch figure, for the most part. And okay, let me see. Hold up. I'm still trying to work on this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm really trying here. But you get the point. If you look it up, you'll pretty much find it out online. So like I said, I want to make sure I get the sizing right. So it's 9.2 inches. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I only know that because it just straight up says at the back of the box. If there's one positive I have towards the plastic free packaging, it's that at least it tell you the size of the characters, even if it's not like really that much of a big deal. Okay, so here we go. We could kind of get a nice better look at how he looks. Now, obviously, because my computer is showing it as like super blue for some odd reason, obviously you can't really see too many of the colors, but you can kind of get the idea. It's a new head sculpt. There's a lot of different parts. Definitely some new parts added for the chest piece too. So that's pretty cool to point out. I really want to see if they showed a good angle of the chainsaw. Because you look at the back of the box and it just kind of shows him like shooting on the ground for some reason. And then of course you got the. I love chainsaws, man. That's incredible. Very rarely do you find a Marvel Legends figure that actually has a chainsaw. I think this might be the actual first time, if I remember correctly. Let me see. I don't know if they have a better angle. And they showed off their other figures. These we already knew about by now. A lot of the Avengers and all that. Which consisted of like the Great Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye. Black Widow is now hitting Target stores, and it is a Target exclusive. So if you want to go get it, that's your safe bet. And be careful because they might not have too many quantities. Because have seen that in other stores online when people go hunting. They only put out 3 Black Widows for some reason, which it is what it is. But it's a bit sad. And I'm looking at through the rest of the pictures. Let me see. It doesn't appear that they're gonna show like the chainsaw portion. They're just mostly showing like his Gatling gun or his minigun. I like to call it a Gatling gun if I'm being honest, but I know that the proper pronunciation is minigun, but I don't care. It is what it is. All right. Okay, it is what it is. So one final thing I would like to talk about is if you look up his the accuracy with him and his comic book counterpart, because I've had noticed where if you look up Detroit Steel, in the comic books, it does look pretty similar to Ironmonger. Almost, it does. I mean, not counting that weird Lego skin that I found too, where apparently they found Ironmonger, but in those patriotic colors and all that, with the red, white, and blue. Uh, but what I want to say though is that it's pretty obvious that it's not 100% accurate. So of course there's gonna come a question about whether if it's like this is just Hasbro being lazy and all that though. But it's like the detailing honestly and the accuracy is so interesting. It's like I can't wait to honestly review that figure whenever it comes. But obviously, because this is from San Diego Comic Con, who knows? They might set out a date and then it might get delayed. I have no idea. Because guess what, you guys? Apparently, from what I'm seeing online, the totally awesome Hulk Build-A-Figure wave is actually hitting Target stores now. So, okay, that's odd, But I know that from the Marvel Legends team at Hasbro, I know that they did mention that because the movie, the Marvels was supposed to release a lot earlier instead of November. The figures they have a certain date to come out, so most likely they will be coming out somewhere around maybe August or so. That's what I've heard. But okay, I guess they're coming out now. And I'm going through my computer right now, and it doesn't seem like that there is an exact date for when the figure will come out. Yeah, that's about it. So any other information right here that we have for Marvel Legends is that they're actually going to do a Marvel Legends, Shield Agent Army Builder, and I don't know if it's just going to be the figure by itself or if it's going to be with another figure too, because I have seen some people compare, well, not compare, but they say that the female Hydra soldier and a female Shield agent are actually going to be part together, but I don't know if that's confirmed or not. I'm just mostly interested as to how the hell that this character even managed to get a figure. I'm just gonna say it again. This is like the most like American thing I've seen. It's so funny. It's a giant freaking robot with a ginormous minigun, a giant chainsaw, and he's like American colors. That's fantastic. And from the looks of it, from what I've seen from the little bit of the comics that I was trying to research, he's definitely an Iron Man villain. So, can you imagine having the two of them side by side? That's gonna be incredible. That is, it's everything. It's funny. It's cool. It's great. I'm glad that exists, and I'm glad that I get to talk about it today. So that's about it. As for the next video, I don't really know what I'm gonna do because some of you may or may not have noticed. If you've been keeping a lot of track throughout the channel, uh, I have a whole playlist of where I have most of my conversations about like different topics or talking about toy stuff or video games and all that. And I believe if I check correctly, I think this is going to be video 99. So we're up to like the 100 video base for that playlist coming soon. So I'm trying to think about what I could do for it because that's great. I never thought that I would reach 100 episodes of the Josheee's talk videos. And if you're interested in checking them out, like I say, I do have a whole playlist of where I just talk about a lot of mostly random junk. Mind you, when I first started, obviously, some of the videos are not like they're not great. I just thought I'd kind of point that out a little bit. And then of course there was the issue that I kind of pointed out. I think it was yesterday, if I remember. I'm not sure about that weird community. That comment my community tab, where it kind of went on. It was a little bit of a rant, which I rather not talk about it for the 100 video. I think I'd rather talk about it. Today's Monday, so maybe Wednesday. I want to say for sure because I want to plan something maybe tomorrow for the video to kind of talk about other stuff. So there you go. That's about it. So thank you guys for joining in. Leave a like, subscribe, or if not, I mean that's cool. It is what it is, and that's about it. See ya.